I don't even think it's too late to start teaching your children to relearn emotional intelligence. As a parent, you don't even have to have it all figured out. None of us does. And most of the time, your job as a parent overwhelms you so much that regulating your own emotions becomes, difficult to do. But as a parent, you need to start learning from somewhere that not only are you doing this for your children to copy because children learn by copying, but you are also doing this for your own self, to improve yourself, to grow yourself. What are the emotions that you currently have challenges dealing with? Have you identified them? Feeling some type of way is not an emotion. So be specific about the emotion. Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it tiredness? Being tired is an emotion. Is it aggression that you are feeling? There are so many emotions out there, and we first of all have to identify the emotion we are struggling with. Now, after identifying the emotion, we will explore what are the things that are hindering the regulation of those emotions. And emotional regulation is a whole workshop on its own. We may not exhaust in one breath, but it starts with identifying your emotion. If it's in relation to your children, one way forward that I would encourage to all parents here this week: resist the temptation to yell at your children. Resist the temptation. That is how you start teaching your children emotional intelligence. That when something happens, instead of shouting, hey, ha, hey, 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 remind yourself that this week we are not shouting. This week we are not shouting. This week we are having conversations. So, Amma, is it possible that you don't do this? You know mommy doesn't like it when you do this. You know daddy doesn't want you to do this. So can you do this instead? Kids may not get it at the first time. Give them room, give them space. They are still learning. So that very thing you told them not to do, they will end up doing it again. But reinforce gentle speaking instead of shouting. A lot of us have developed trauma bonds when it comes to parenting, and even how we were also parented. Because most of us, the only language we ever understood was shouting. So it even helps you, or it gets you to develop this fear of confrontation, because we think confrontations always have to be at the top of our voices. So if you want your children to start developing emotional intelligence, this week, reduce the shouting. If possible, this week, don't shout at them. And notice how it improves your own regulation. Because half of the time we are shouting out of frustration. We are shouting out of irritation. We are shouting because we are feeling overwhelmed. But does the shouting resolve that feeling? It doesn't. So this week, as you reduce shouting, or as you stop shouting, reflect on how it is improving your own emotional well-being. You realize that over time, your kids will pick up these behaviors. As you are improving upon yours, they are watching, they will learn. I hope that answers your question to a large extent, because the topic emotional intelligence is a whole huge capacity building workshop. But if it's coming from the concerns of a parent, my tip for you this week is that don't shout at them, and reflect on how it is improving your own well-being.
Yeah, Miss Na, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you
think
too.
Beatrice is okay with your response, and I think we've all picked our notes from that as well. Well, there's a suggestion that maybe next time we talk about emotional intelligence. So please look forward to our invitation. Okay, so there's another question. Emmanuel is asking, how worse does negative thoughts affect our daily lives?
Hmm.
So he wants to know the impact of negative
Negative
thoughts.
thoughts. Okay, that's a good one.
Mm.
So um so for those who joined at the beginning of the conversation, I mentioned that for me I like to make everything life applicatory, right? So let's consider this scenario for a little bit, and it is to explain how negative thoughts will affect your life. When you conceive an idea, right? Let's say you're having a random conversation with someone about cars. That this Charlie, I'm trying to see if I can buy maybe an Elantra. Observe that suddenly it's like on the street, every car you are seeing is an Elantra. If two cars are coming, an Elantra and a Jeep, even though the Jeep is bigger than the Elantra, you will see the Elantra first. So it is a selective theory that is wired in the brain. When the brain conceives an idea, the purpose of the brain or the job of the brain is to highlight and exaggerate the thoughts to you. So if it is a positive thought, your brain will give you positive exaggerations. If it is negative, your brain will do justice to giving you all the angles to that negativity. Now, when negative thoughts like take up space in your mind, your body will begin to respond to the negative thought, because one thing that the body does and the brain in conjunction with the brain is to keep you from danger. So if these thoughts, so let me take one random negative thought. Let's say that I'm a failure. For I'm just being random, this is not in retrospect to anybody, and you keep dwelling on past failures, maybe mistakes you have done, and how stupid you are, how this, your brain will give you 1,000 and more reasons to prove to you that indeed you are stupid. Your brain will give you many, many, many reasons to compound on your feelings of failure. That, you even remember this thing. You see this, and then suddenly it's like whether social media has also been programmed to reflect our negative thoughts. You go online and everybody is talking about that trend, that particular topic, and then it gives you more reasons to do like that. It's true. Indeed, I am stupid. Now, what do we do to stupid people? We avoid stupid people at all costs. We don't like stupid people. Your brain knows this because your brain will keep you from danger. Now, if stupidity as a concept is spotted as danger by the brain, it will start doing what it can to protect you from it. But because the negative thoughts are still inbuilt in our subconscious, now you make it difficult for the brain to differentiate between protecting you or still, you know, compounding on the thoughts. Because at the end of the day, the stupid person we are avoiding is you. And here I am stuck in you. How do I avoid you? So that confusion in the it's a complex dynamic. But that confusion in the brain overwhelms the brain, and by the time you realize other aspects of your life is being influenced, your attention span will begin to decrease because the brain is taking too much space and too much time trying to decipher who it should work against. Meanwhile, the person it is working against is you, and because your brain cannot work against you, it is confused. So you have a lot of, you realize that you begin to make a lot of mistakes. And because you're already thinking of yourself as a failure, you are now making more mistakes, which is compounding on your thoughts or your confirmations that, oh, indeed, yes, you are. That is how much negative thoughts can affect your life. If you are insecure about something or about yourself, your brain will give you many, many more reasons to continue being insecure. And by the time you realize something will happen and it will just trigger more of that insecurity. Say, I said it. I knew it. I knew this thing was going to come. I have always felt this way about this thing or this person. So by the time you realize the energy you need to fuel into other aspects of your life, you are draining much of that energy into things that confuse your brain the more. And this will cause your brain to begin to produce more of the stress hormone. Because if you overwhelm it, cortisol needs to increase to keep your brain protected. And when your body begins to receive large doses of cortisol, your heart will respond to it. Your blood sugar will spike. So it is not just going to affect you psychologically, it is in the long run going to affect you physically. We've talked about the well-being continuum. So sit and identify these negative thoughts. We ask ourselves a question in the beginning that are they true? Are these thoughts true? If they are true, what is the element of truth in it? And what can you do to redefine, to shift that mindset, and to find ways and means to develop coping strategies around those thoughts? So, Emmanuel, that is how complex negative thoughts, can spiral into so many aspects of your life. And by the time you realize you are depriving yourself the quality of life you deserve, the meaningful life that you have to enjoy, now you are focused so much, consuming energy into some of these thoughts. When half of the time it is not even true. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Na, for that insight as well. Um, Someone is also asking, at what point do you seek professional help?
The moment you start observing some of these symptoms, we did a check in before we started the session. Like I said, it's a long list of many other reactive symptoms. But when you start feeling that something is changing in your body, something is changing or something is tampering with your sleep, your thought patterns are changing, you are gaining weight at odd places, you are becoming bald. We haven't observed how this is related to our mental health. That is why I started with that, so that you realize that these physical symptoms are telling you what is happening with your mental health. So the moment you start feeling these reactive symptoms, seek professional help. Get guidance on what to go, what to do, how to navigate it so that it doesn't escalate. In fact, seeking professional help is even more relevant when you are not yet feeling overwhelmed, so that you know how to continue, increasing the room you need to create to thrive, so that you don't even get into those reactive phases before you are doing preventive care. I mean, curative care, but you can start with preventive. And what do I do? What systems do I put in place? Therapy or professional help in any form, even with medical consult. Sometimes you just go have a conversation with your doctor that this year I'm turning 35. Are there any, is there any advice, medical advice you can give me at this stage in my life? Are there any tests that will be relevant for me to run, just, to make sure that my body is working well. So you don't necessarily even have to wait to start feeling the symptoms. You can start today by seeking professional help. I think there's a hand up.
Yes. Moses, can you unmute yourself and then ask your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. I also want to ask the question. Oh my God. Sometimes you feel like I need to do this. You feel like, oh, I need to read a book. I feel like this is what I do, to care for myself. But you start reading a book and then tomorrow you put it down. The next day you're like, I think I need to take a walk. You take a walk, one, two, you stop. You are not being consistent in what you feel is, caring for yourself. How do you also cope with a situation like that?
Thank you very much, Moses. So is the lack of consistency to continue task to, let's say, to the end of it. Okay, so we can start with exploring the why. Why are you doing the exercises? Why are you reading a book? Because identifying the why will help you assess motivation to be able to do some of these things or to do more of these things. So we'll start with exploring why. Okay, I'm reading this book because I want to maybe build capacity in emotional regulation. Let's just say, because that's one of the questions that came up. So, how will you be able to apply the skills that you are learning in this book to your own emotions? Now, when we are able to expand on the why and it helps us build motivation, you'll be able to figure out what books do I even want to read, which are aligned to this motivation. So that is what is going to maintain your interest. I just mentioned that the brain has capacity to highlight, exaggerate, it will compound, give you more of the very thoughts that you feed into the brain. So if you are telling the brain that I need to manage my anger, I need to manage my emotions, I need to learn about financial security. The moment that programming comes in sync with the brain, trust me, if you observe, you realize that anything that is related to that particular thing, your brain is just drawing your attention to it. Now, when you start with something like reading, start small. You can start by reading 2 pages a day. If you've fallen out of it for a while, you can start by reading those 2 pages a day. That this week, I'll read, let's say, one chapter and then go at your own pace. It's better to read 1 page a day than to fall off. It's been 1 month, you haven't completed the book, and you are beating yourself for doing that. So take small bite-sized goals at the end of the week or at the beginning of the week, and then you grow the momentum from there. Sometimes because we feel we've not taken time to do certain things, we are in a hurry to catch up. And then you realize that it becomes overwhelming, like, oh my God, I didn't sign up for this. It's like people who don't exercise at all. You are always procrastinating your exercise, and then you go and register at a gym. You just get up, you jump the whole gun, and then go and register at a gym. Now, even getting up to go to the gym becomes an issue. You have paid, yet you don't go. So start by walking around your area. There was something I started doing that I'll park my car at my junction. Of course, if you live in a safe area, park your car at your junction. If you know that walking from your junction to your house is maybe like a 5 minutes walk, park your car there, lock your car, walk home, go and do whatever you have to do at home, eat, do your parenting duties, do all of that. Make sure you put your kids to sleep. Walk back to the junction, pick your car, and go and park it. So that is about 10 minutes of walking, or even 15, because walking to, walking back, you know. So let's start small, and then we build on the consistency. And that is how you are able to grow your interest in new things, or things you know that you have to do to sustain a certain routine that is helpful to you. Start small.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Um, Moses, I hope you're okay with everything she
Yeah,
said.
yeah, I am. I am very much
Okay.
okay. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Madam
All
Angel.
right. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Miss, I don't see any question in the comments, and I don't see any hand up. So I'll just go ahead with my question, and maybe we can wrap up with that. I have two questions. Sorry.
Okay.
So my first question is actually related to the part where you mentioned that about seeking help, professional help,
Mm,
and how often we should be checking up on our health, like going for these checkups and stuff. Healthcare in Ghana, well, I don't know. Well, I'm in Ghana, so let me just limit it to Ghana. It's really expensive.
mhm.
Sometimes some of this pap smears and all this, even going to see the gynae and stuff, like you can't be consistent if you don't have a stable income and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So how do we navigate around that? That's my first question. Will you answer before I move on, or I can ask both and then?
Yeah, you can ask both so that.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I want to know how we can navigate around that. And then my second question. So I'm a creative, and I know some people who are registered for this webinar are also fellow creatives or writers. Mental health is something that is really should I say every creative's nightmare, because I mean mental health defects, because along the line of the creative journey sometimes you suffer depression, sometimes serious anxiety, and serious imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So some of these things related to creativity, how do you manage or cope as a creative? How do you take care of your mental health? With regard to this conversation, talking about self care, how does a creative manage his or her mental health using any of the self care approaches you took us through earlier? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Um, so for creatives, I know it's very overwhelming. You know, creative people, people in the media space, people now that everybody wants to be a content creator, there is this hunger for having content all the time. So I really do understand where you're coming from. But the first thing again is self-awareness. There may be a lot of, trends, all of these things that we all jump on, but know yourself and know what works for you. As a creative, develop a system that is unique to you. Whatever your content goal is or your creativity goals are, develop a system that is unique to you. So you know how you work, you know the pace at which you work, and you are able to um, rejuvenate your own ideas from time to time. Now we've identified how to um, apply self care to ourselves, even though we use the whole love language dynamic. These are things that are real life applicatory stuff. And you can take one or two that pertains to you and then use it as your comfort kit. That in days where you are overwhelmed, where you feel like you are running low on ideas, I will zone out, I will unplug. And when I unplug, this is what I have to do to recover my energy, to rejuvenate, and then come back. You understand? So self awareness is key and knowing what works for you. Now, know how to establish a relationship between rest and work. I think for creatives, There's no holiday for your creativity. So you have to intentionally create a healthy relationship between work and rest. When you are working and when you are resting, you have 24 hours in every day. One of the tools I help people build on in time management is how to maximize your 24 hours. Divide your 24 hours into three: 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of active work, and then 8 hours for yourself. So the 8 hours for yourself could even be the time you are using to build inspiration, how to redirect your dynamic on work, how to meet your clients, how to meet the current needs of creativity demands. And then you are using your 8 hours. So the moment you are able to create a working system for you, the brain likes to work in structure. When you create haphazard systems for your brain, it will just scatter you everywhere. But if you are able to identify what works for you, and usually that's a challenge, being able to identify what works for you. Again, that is like a whole other conversation, but learning to identify what works for you is key. And then we can tailor a system that works for us, and then we work to improve the capacity of whatever goals that we want to achieve. For the imposter syndrome, it is not exclusive to only creatives. As a psychologist, I get streaks of imposter syndrome here and there also. But the first question you ask yourself is it true? Because imposter syndrome is embedded in negative thoughts. That whatever thought I am having, whatever feeling is coming with this thought, is it really true? Am I just a sham? Or people are actually benefiting and creating value for people? And if I trust in the wealth of what I'm delivering, over time, you realize that the energy that fuels imposter syndrome will rather begin to fuel your creativity because you're not giving it the voice it needs. But if it is becoming overwhelming and you are struggling to deal with it, seek professional help. As a creative, you need to have someone that is always your go-to when it comes to your well-being, to remind you on where you are falling off, to help you shape dynamics on certain things, and always keep you on track. Now, with the healthcare system in Ghana, I know that it's very expensive for some of these tests. If you are working in a company where you have health insurance, please use it. I know people who will not use the health insurance so that they can claim it at the end of the year. But if there is a system that helps to take care of your well-being, please make use of it. If it is just to even do the scans, the checks, do the blood work, do a mental health assessment, and it will be catered to. Forget about you getting the money at the end of the year as a bonus or something. Go ahead and make use of it. Now, if you don't have a corporate system like that, one thing that now health our healthcare systems are beginning to do is jumping on the awareness months. So I know for something like cervical cancer, is it January or February? It's cervical cancer month. And a lot of the health providers either give discounted or free screening services. So if it is of importance to you, please try and tap into some of these awareness programs also. May is mental health awareness. So you have myself and other psychologists, availing ourselves to be part of programs like this webinar, um, giving maybe free slots for therapy, or taking time to educate us more on mental health concerns. So you take advantage of those systems also. Breast cancer month is somewhere in October. Almost every hospital is doing free breast screening. Please go and have your breast screened. So let's try. And I think June is also a men's health month or so. And a lot of facilities. I'll try and see if I get some of these contacts. I'll share with you guys so you can share with your community. They have maybe free prostate cancer screenings, um, you know, things that are of interest to men's health, to check your prostate, check your blood pressure, check your sugar. In fact, blood pressure, you can walk into a pharmacy and let them check your blood pressure for you for free. You can walk into any hospital and check your blood pressure for free. So at least the ones that are affordable and almost free, let's start with that. Because if you can check your blood pressure for free, if your blood pressure over time is is at a place where it's not supposed to be, then that will be an indication for you to go and seek further clarity into what could be the issue. But then the screening, you didn't pay for it. So at least some of these things, let's just put our ears down as and when we hear of them. But for the ones you can afford to give to yourself, let me remind you again, don't be stingy to yourself. Take care of yourself. Okay.
Wow, I'm taking it all in. Thank you so much. This has been a very productive session, and time is fast spent. Well, we advertised 1 hour, but I think the conversation is so deep. We had to go beyond. Thank you so much for your time, your valuable time spent with us today, Miss Na. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything you've shared with us today, and we promise we make a pact that will abide, we will abide and see results, and we share these results with our community. Thank you so much. Hopefully the slides will be available for our participants after the session, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we will do that. We'll reach out to everyone who has registered to take part for this session, and then we will let you have the slides. Please, do you have any final words for us before we depart? Miss Na?
Okay. I think I've said all the final words. But then this month is for mental health, and it doesn't start and end with May. But beyond the month of May, we are encouraging that all of us to start taking particular interest in ourselves. Treat yourself like someone you love. The way you want people who you fall in love with. You see how a man will chase a woman because they love them. A woman too will be doing all manner of things for a man because they love them. From today going, see yourself as that person, that man, that woman, and start giving yourself the tender, loving care that you deserve. Live life before you die. It may sound cliche, but there's this essence of creating that, you know, system that you know you deserve. And it goes a long way to improve all the lives that are affected by you. If you have children, if you have a spouse, all these things go a long way to influence the relationships that you have with these people, your colleagues, your own family members, maybe your parents, your siblings. And over time, you realize that you are becoming an impactful person to yourself and to your own community. So take care of yourself. Have a lovely evening. I hope that this evening we will start with our sleep hygiene. Take proper care of your sleep because that is the only time your brain gets to recover. Good night.
Thank you, and have a good evening and a good night too, and a graceful week. Yes, thank you. Thank you to everybody who joined.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before you go, for those of you who may want to reach out to me on social media, you
Yes,
can just
yes,
find
please
me
share.
as
Yes, please
Madam
share.
Documental
Mm-hmm.
on social media. Just send
Yes.
me a DM, yeah, let's catch up. Just tell me that I was part of the webinar for um AMH and Writers Club. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, I remember.
Thank you so much. We'll do that. We'll
Okay.
do that. Thank you. Thank you all for your time, and have a good evening and a blessed week. Thank you.